The deal, salutations. It is your brother Wasted. I'm ready. I think my man Mo's gonna pull up. He's definitely pulling up. This is gonna be a great show. But like I always say, y'all, and you know what I always say. Let's start this podcast. What's the deal, everybody? What is shaking? What is shaking, man? We got a spectacular episode coming at y'all today, man. My brother Mo Moton from Bleacher Report is pulling up on me today, man. We're gonna discuss the over and unders, stat projections for the guys on our roster. It's been a while, everybody, man. Let me get some shout outs. We're gonna wait for some few more people to pull into the room. I need some more love in here. And as always, tell a friend to tell a friend. Get wasted with your brother Wasted. What is the deal, man? I am ready to roll. I'm feeling spectacular, everybody. You know, your man Wasted is feeling very spectacular and splendiferous, as I always feel. Now, Bryce B in the place to be. Wasted, what's good, fam? Hope you and the family are safe and have a blessed 4th. Thank you, Bryce B. Dreaded one. My brother Thor. What's good, G? Snoop Hernandez. LV Maximus, the unofficial or official security of Mount Shieldmore is in the place. But listen, man, without further ado, we have a legend in here, y'all. My brother Mo. Mo, what is the deal, man? Yo, you are setting these blogging and Bleacher Report streets ablaze today, brother. What is the deal with you today, man? You guys, and listen, who's ever in here, before I get started, get wasted with your brother Wasted. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Share this out. We need more love in the room right now. We got a legend in here today, y'all. Don't let me down. Mo, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, man? I just came off of Nation Radio. I had to switch over, so you know how that goes. But
Nah, I feel you, brother. I feel
here.
you.
I'm here live and direct. Got a lot of the tweets. A lot of people are talking about the Carr prediction. A lot of people talking about Davante Adams. A lot of talking about are you signing with Brett Favre? There's a lot to sort out today, but I'm sure we're gonna get into that.
Oh my God, man. I mean, listen, you know, I didn't want to start there, but it seems like we have almost, you know, no choice, right?
Yeah,
Brett Favre, his comments about Carr. You know, if though for those of you who don't know exactly what Brett Favre said, you know, Brett Favre was pretty much saying that, you know, to surmise what he was saying and to you know put it all in a little neat little bow is that Devante Adams, because he's not playing with the great Aaron Rodgers, is going to have a drop off because he's playing with Derek Carr. Now, I think that's a very, very rudimentary and simplistic way to look at things, and I don't agree. And I know Mo does agree. You know what I mean? But Mo, what are your thoughts on what happened with that? And before you give me that, I'm sorry, brother. Raider Squid, thank you for the $10 super chat, man. Fights on Silver, F Cancer. If you can, hit the GoFundMe for the familiar. Definitely, yo. Listen, hashtag fight on Sylvia. Y'all, everybody out there, this is a great cause. This is our brother, Raider Squid. And that's more, I don't mean to cut you off, but I had to get to this, man. Okay. Fight on Sylvia, F Cancer. Go and donate, support the family fund. It'll alleviate some pain and suffering as far as financially from this family, man. And that's what we're all about here on Raider Nation Unlimited. So go out there and reach out, man. Hit that hashtag, y'all. So Mo, as I so rudely interrupted, what were your thoughts on that, brother?
Where are my manners? Mo Moton on Twitter, Mo Moton everywhere. If you're looking for my work, Sports Not, Bleacher Report. Silver and Black today is about to be back up soon, so look out for that. I got the shirt on, as you know. So it's all out there for you. So Mo Moton everywhere if you're looking for me. But Getting into business. I just wanted to correct you on one thing. I don't exactly agree with Brett Favre. The one thing I will say is I think Davante Adams receiving yards will come down, but not because of the switch between Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr, but because he has to share the field with Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow now. He didn't have those type of weapons to play with in Green Bay. He has those weapons now to play with in Vegas. So they're not going to be as dependent on Davante Adams to move the ball through the air as the Packers were. Because the Packers had a bunch of number 2 pass catchers who couldn't even crack 55 receptions in a season. They had Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Alan Lazard, Jimmy Graham had 55 catches, I believe, for 636 yards. But those were the best pass catchers behind Davante Adams on that squad. Hunter Renfrow had better numbers in his second year as primarily a slot receiver. So you can imagine what he's going to do now in his 4th year with Josh McDaniels coming over, with Darren Waller healthy, open up the field. All of those guys are going to help each other get some yak yards, get some receiving yards downfield. So they're not going to be dependent on one receiver. So I don't think you're going to see one receiver get 1,700 yards. You'll see all of them get anywhere between 900 and 1,200 yards. And I think that's where Davante Adams, he's on the higher end of that spectrum. I think he gets about 1,250. But I think his touchdown total remains high because I think that's where the Raiders will get the most help out of him in the red zone.
Now, and I agree, but where I would push back is this. Davante Adams with the Green Bay Packers had 31.6% of the target share in his 16 games playing with them. And, that was above, there was only 2 players above 29%. So you're absolutely right there. But the difference, I think, as it pertains to the yards is, I think this year, I think Derek Carr is going to throw for probably 5,000 yards. He almost threw for 5,000 yards last year, right? So with Davante Adams, you could almost surmise that that's going to he's going to get over 5,000 yards. Now, the reason why I think Davante Adams will hit that 1,300-yard metric is because even though he won't get the targets, he'll get a lot more one-on-one coverage because you can't double him all the time like you could in Green Bay. And I think that he's going to break off some bigger plays this year. So, you got a lot of the underneath stuff with Hunter Renfrow and with Darren Waller, but a lot of the stuff that you can get, those 9 routes, those slants, all those deep bombs are going to go to Devontae. Not all of them, but a lot of them are going to go to Devontae. And I think that the chemistry that he has with Derek Carr in the past and the fact that they work out in the offseason, they're not going to miss a beat, man. And I really believe the way Josh McDaniels calls plays, if they're going to be any deep shots, I would say 60% of them are going to be targeted at Davante Adams. So he'll get a lot of his yards in chunks, and I think that he can hit the metric that he hit with Aaron Rodgers because last year we got, let's not forget, even though Aaron Rodgers threw for, what did he throw for? I think 40, I got to remember. He threw for, 37 touchdowns last year? He had 37 touchdowns. He had 4,115 yards last year. Derek Carr last year had 4,100 yards, and he threw for 23 touchdowns. I think this year, as far as from a yardage standpoint, if Carr goes over 5,000, he's going to get over 5,000 with 2 receivers cracking 1,000 yards this year. And I think Davante Adams will be one of them.
Here's the counter pushback to that. What if the Raiders have a more balanced offense? Because as we know, Raiders abandoned the run in a lot of games last year. Now, you pointed out, as a lot of people pointed out to me on Twitter, yeah, he threw for 4,800 yards last year. So why not 5,000 this year? And I don't say it has to say 5,000 is unrealistic. He could possibly do it. But my thing is, I'd rather Carr throw for that much by design, not out of necessity. He had to carry that offense last year because they had no run game. So this year, let's say they do have some semblance of a run game. He won't have to throw the ball 626 times. What if their defense is pretty good? They won't have to deal with long fields. They'll have short fields. So that cuts down on the yardage. But to put a bow on it, I'm not even worried about Derek Carr's yards. You can throw for 4,800 yards and still have a offense outside of the top 10. I want to see touchdowns. I want to see the Raiders offense finish drives with 6 points and not have to call Daniel Carlson to finish drives for 3. I think that's the important stat. The passing yard stat, to me, it can fluctuate for a number of different variables. And I don't think it's that important. Yeah, I mean, it's good to see on paper, but you want to see your quarterback throw for some touchdowns. And Derek Carr has only had more than 28 touchdowns in one season. That was 2015 when he had Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, and Seth All or Nothing Roberts, who's going to get you either
Yes, sir.
a donut or he's going to get you a game-winning touchdown
Yes,
in
sir.
overtime
Yes,
against
sir.
the Buccaneers.
I miss him though. I miss him. I definitely miss him. He was clutch, man.
So he's got the best wide. He has the best pass catching group that he's had, Derek Carr, in his time with the Raiders. I'll give him that. So that's where the numbers. I think Derek Carr statistically will have his best year this year. I tweeted that under a PFF tweet. I said Derek Carr is going to have his best statistical year, but I don't necessarily mean that means that he's going to throw for 5,000 yards. I was just on Raider Nation Radio and I said my prediction for Derek Carr is 4,600 yards and 35 touchdown passes. That's where I think he lands.
See, the reason why I think that he'll still hit that metric and go over 5,000 yards is because of the high-powered offenses that we have in our division. And I think that to win a few of these games, he's going to have to throw out a necessity because you have quarterbacks in this division that are going to constantly put pressure on his defense. You got quarterbacks that put points on the board. So, you're not going to be able to get into a rhythm and really run the football. A lot of the time with the Patriot offense, they use the pass to set up the run as opposed to the other way around. So a lot of that dinking and dunking and West Coast offense kind of concepts are going to ring true. And I think he's going to get his yardage through that. And I think when they open that offense up, I think this is the first time in Davante Adams' career that he's played with another guy on his offense that demands almost as much attention as he does in Darren Waller. And that's one of the reasons why I don't think he'll have a drop-off. And I'm not trying to be an optimistic Raider fan. I'm just looking at it from the prism of who do you double bracket? You can't do it all the time. Sometimes he's going to see single coverage, and it's going to be probably the most he's ever seen single coverage in his entire career.
Now, we know how Josh McDaniels operates. If look at it this way, I know he's got Davante Adams. I know he's got Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller out there. But if he's playing a run defense that's bottom 5, I could see Josh McDaniels going out there and just running the ball 45 times. Do you remember that game between the Patriots and the Bills where I believe Mac Jones threw the ball 3 times?
Now, he ran the ball down their throat.
Right, and I know that was a windy game. I get it. But Josh McDaniels is not above just attacking a team's weakness. And if they can't stop it, I'm going to do it until you can stop it. And if you can't stop it, guess what? We're going to run the ball down your throat 45 times. We're going to win this football game. And I think that's something that you have to look out for. You have to factor in with these yards. And this is why I say yards aren't really that important to me. Score the touchdowns, win the football games. The W's are the most. And to get those W's, you have to score with 6 points and not 3. And I think those are the numbers that you look at. And this is why I did the over-under on Carr's touchdown total. I didn't do the over-under on his passing yards, because I think that's less significant and less important than his touchdown total.
Yes, and I'm gonna be honest with you. You have a terrific point, but we got to look at the Raiders' schedule this year. You know what, man? I don't see a whole lot of tomato cans out there, man. There's not a whole lot of tomato cans out there, and even the Jacksonville Jaguars and even the New Orleans Saints. The Jacksonville Jaguars will be much more improved than a lot of people think. That's not just a gimme game, man. I believe that, with Trevor Lawrence being in his second year, Travis Etienne coming out there and playing, them having, the receivers that they got down there, and big play Zay Jones. No, I'm kidding around. But, listen, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're going to be better coached this year. I don't think that that's just a gimme as they once were. They're not going to beat us, but I don't think that and I would like to see us go down there and blow them out. But I think, man, when you look at the Raiders' schedule, man, there's not a whole lot of bottom-feeding defenses on our schedule, man. Like even the Kansas City Chiefs have gotten better.
I'll say this: you can have a good team and still have a bad run defense. No, you can have a good football team. You don't have to be a tomato can, to have a bad or good defense. I think it just comes down to what is the team's weakness for that given week. Is there starting defensive tackle out? Is there starting cornerback out? That stuff all matters, and that stuff we cannot predict July 5th, 2022.
That's true.
You won't know what a team's weakness is until that week comes up. And if they're missing both their defensive tackles, guess what? You're probably going to have a run-heavy game plan that week. So I think you have to play it by ear. And this is why I say the yards can fluctuate so much, and this is why I'm focused on the touchdowns.
Yes, sir. I mean, Mo, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm looking now. The only thing I can do is I can deal with the prism of today, right? Mm-hmm. I can deal with the roster of today. Mm-hmm. Week 1, Chargers. Right now, they might have I doubt they'll have a middling, bottom third run defense. The Cardinals, most likely. Tennessee Titans, I don't think so. Broncos, I don't think so. The Chiefs, I don't think so. The Texans, maybe. The Saints, run defense, I don't think so. And the Saints have a pretty damn good secondary too, right? So Jacksonville Jaguars, you could be right. The Colts, I don't think so. The Seattle Seahawks, maybe. The Rams, definitely not. With Aaron, as long as Aaron Donald is on the field, that's never going to happen, right? New England Patriots, as long as Bill Belichick is there, they're never going to have a bottom third run defense. The Pittsburgh Steelers, no. San Francisco 49ers, no. And the Chiefs, no, again. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't really see us facing teams that are that vulnerable to the run, man, based off of how they're currently constituted. Now, I'm projecting based off of last year. We know we can't do that. But from what I see from our schedule, I see a few games where Carr's going to have to light it up to win that game, man. You know, the Rams are going to put pressure on his defense. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs always put pressure on everybody. The Indianapolis Colts with Matt Ryan back there is going to put pressure on his defense. You know, you're going to have to score some points to beat Russell Wilson a couple of them games. You're going to have to score some points to beat Kyler Murray and a healthy Nuke Hopkins. I don't know, Mo. I don't know.
Look at it this way. Patriots had a bottom third run defense last year. Patriots usually go on the back end. That's why I think that's why they let J.C. Jackson go, because they're confident in their DBs, because historically they've had a good pass defense. They picked up J.C. Jackson. I know J.C. Jackson got into trouble before he got into the NFL, and that's why he slipped. But
yeah,
usually the Patriots have a good secondary. They could be had on the run. Their run defense is mediocre. The Steelers had the worst run defense last year. They gave up the most yards.
Yeah, but we got to look at why, though.
And let me finish. One of their defensive linemen stepped away from the game. Stephon Tuitt no longer at defensive line. So they worst run defense, and they lost the key guy who didn't play last year. I give him that. I believe didn't play.
TJ Watt was out a lot. You know,
he's out a lot. But again, the Pittsburgh Steelers, their defense is kind of in shift mode because they also have a new D coordinator. I believe Terrell Austin is taking over. Keith Butler retired. So let's not just give them, okay, the Steelers are going to be good, because historically the Steelers defense has been good, because lately the Steelers defense hasn't been all that up to par. So I'll say this. We just don't know what's going to happen. So what I will say is that I'm glad to see that the Raiders now have an offense where they can attack on different fronts. They can pass the ball with Derek Carr. They can run. They have a crowded running back room. They have Josh Jacobs still. Zamir White they drafted. Kenyon Drake hopefully gets healthy from his ankle injury. Brandon Bolden comes over from New England. They have a bunch of weapons. So they don't have to focus on, okay, we got to get Davante Adams the ball. We got to get Darren Waller the ball. They can spread it around. They can run the ball 40 times if they want to. That's what you want from your offense. You want an offense that can beat you in multiple ways. The other point I want to bring up is that offensive line has to improve, because if that offensive line doesn't improve, you're going to have to run the ball to protect Derek Carr so he doesn't get hit. Because I believe he took the most sacks second most sacks in his career last season in the total. So again, there are some moving parts here. If your offensive line is up to par, you're going to have to run the ball a little bit more than you'd like to.
Now, really quickly, I want to get back to a couple of the gimmies in your over and under. Now, I'm sharing the screen right now. Chandler Jones and Maxx Crosby, over or under 20 sacks combined. You have it over 20 sacks, and I agree with you. Because sacks will be on rollback next year, because we all know how Chandler Jones loves to sack our Walmart quarterback supreme, Russell Wilson, right? So he's facing Russell Wilson 2 times a year. You can only guess that Chandler Jones is going to eat. You can only guess that Maxx Crosby is going to get over 10 sacks this year. I think Maxx Crosby takes another step forward. He figures a few things out and turns some of those pressures last year that he had at a historic rate to sacks. So that, I think that's the only gimme here, right? So now what I'm going to do is, let me scroll up, man. This is an interesting one. Trayvon Mullen, over or under 4 interceptions. You have him under. What say you, Mo?
I think he has 2 or 3 interceptions. He's never been a ball hawk. Even going back to Clemson, I think the most he's had in a single season is 3. I think Trayvon Merrick is going to be the guy to lead the Raiders interceptions this year. I think he's going to have 4. He had 4 as a sophomore at TCU. I think he'll have 4 or 5 this upcoming season. He had a couple slip through his fingertips last year.
He dropped about 5 interceptions last year.
Right. So I think he's going to rectify that, and I think he'll hold on to the ball this year, and he'll be your interception leader. Trayvon Mullen was on Twitter saying he's going to get 7 or 8. And I think that was just completely unrealistic for him. But of course, as an athlete, you're going to put the bar high. You're going to set the bar high. So I understand that, what he was trying to do there. But realistically speaking, I think he has 2 to 3 interceptions. Now, again, he's not a ball hawk, but he'll get the pass breakups. He'll get in position to knock the ball away. That's his thing. But as far as a guy being around the football and making plays on the football, I think that's Trayvon Merrick's.
So what do you think about teams having to play from behind and having to throw the ball and him having more opportunities at getting more interceptions?
Here's the thing, where they throwing the ball, because I think of the 2 cornerbacks they're going to have, he's going to be the better of the cornerback. So I think if the opposing team is going to target a cornerback throwing the ball downfield from behind, they're going to target Rock Ya-Sin, who's had some inconsistencies in Indianapolis, or Anthony Averett. If he's a starter, whoever's a starter on the other side, that's going to be the target of the opposing team. I don't think it's going to be Trayvon.
Wow, that's a hot take. So from your estimation, Trayvon Mullen is our best corner.
Yes, I believe he's the Raiders' best corner right now today. If he's healthy, he's back, he's okay, he's good off his foot injury. I don't think a lot of people disagree with me in the chat. You know, chime in.
Let me see.
I think Trayvon Mullen, if healthy, is the Raiders' best cornerback. I don't think that's a hot take.
Chat, what do you guys think, man? Who do you guys do me a favor, guys? Put who you think the Raiders' best corner on the roster right now in the comments. And we're going to do a little poll to see what's going on.
On the outside.
I'm going to read some of these comments, man. We got to get these guys involved. My brother, Big Mike Raider, Mo, question. What offense as a whole is better on paper? This year's Raiders or last year's Packers offense?
This year's Raiders offense. As I said a couple of minutes ago, the Packers haven't had a solid number 2 pass catcher in so long. Now they have Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon in the backfield. I think their 2 top running backs are better, but overall speaking, the Raiders just have a bunch of weapons. I think top to bottom, the Raiders offense is better.
All righty. Now, Kyle Holt, Maurice, I agree. There will be different situations in certain games. That's why I have faith in our final roster. You know what? Maurice agrees with you. Now, we're looking right here. Okay, now, wait a minute. We got a vote for Averett, Rock Ya-Sin, Mullen, Ya-Sin. Wasted. Mullen can play in big games. He was hurt last year. Let him live.
Thank you.
Hey, Bill Gates.
Thank you, Bill Gates.
I don't disagree, Bill Gates. I don't disagree. I don't.
It's crazy to me that Mullen gets hurt. He has an injury-riddle season. People are bailing on him. In each of his first 2 years, he led the Raiders in pass breakups. Now, I know people are going to say people are so high on Rock Ya-Sin. Rock Ya-Sin has some inconsistencies in Indianapolis. His previous defensive backs coach said he's got to be careful with his hands. Now, he had 9 penalties as a rookie. He had 6 in his second year and 3 in his third year. So he's brought that down. But he also said Rock Ya-Sin has to do better playing the football. And that's why his interception totals are low. And I think that's where Trayvon Mullen may not be a ball hawk, but I think he's better than Rock Ya-Sin right now today if he's healthy.
Yes, yeah. I tend to agree with you. Season never stops. Mullen is too handsy. Lateral movement needed work.
Same thing could be said about Rock Ya-Sin, though. And that's why Rock Ya-Sin had been benched multiple times in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Trayvon Mullen is a guy who had issues based off of his injury history. I think that even when Paulie G was here, he was flourishing.
Yes.
Even when Paulie G was here, he was flourishing. And
exactly.
Listen, and having Paul Gunther as your defensive coordinator, and for you to be able to flourish in that speaks volumes. You know what I mean? So, look, let's pump the brakes on the Rock. Like, I call Rock Ya-Sin, Lock Ya-Sin. I love the fact that we brought Rock Ya-Sin in because he's a physical, great press man corner. He's a guy who's going to break the ball up. He's not going to let his stuff get behind him. He's very consistent. But we can't treat Rock Ya-Sin like he's prime time now.
Yeah, you know and that's the point I want to make. I'm not in here to dump on Rock Ya-Sin as he's a bum. But he was benched twice in Indianapolis for a reason. He had some issues. He had some penalty issues. Doesn't play the ball a lot. Has to fix those things. So I don't think he's coming in and he's the number one guy. I actually think he's going to have to fight to start over Anthony Averett, who I think is the sleeper in that group. I think Anthony Averett, who had a good year in Baltimore last year, I think he's the sleeper. I wouldn't even put Rocky Sin, his name in pen as a starter. I think he's going to have to battle for that spot.
Yeah, I do too. Anthony Averett has a lot of talent, man.
Yeah.
A lot of talent.
People have been sleeping on him. I've been trying to get on shows and talk about him a lot more because I think he could be a late bloomer because last year was his first year as a full-time starter and you finally got to see what he can do on the outside. And I think as a man cover corner, he's a pretty decent guy. He's a pretty decent defender. I think he could start.
So Mo, going into one of the other predictions, the Raiders over or under 8.5 wins. You have us over. Everybody has us over. This is a Raider podcast. No one's going to say that we lose less than 8.5 win less than 8.5 games. I mean, we're not even gonna dive into that. I mean, you're the first person I heard say that you think that almost every team in this division can win 10 games.
Yeah, and I put that out last month or 2 months ago. I have every team in the AFC West winning at least 10 games. I have the Raiders at 10-7. Now things are going to change because obviously injuries. How's the Raiders' offensive line going to shake out? How's the secondary going to shake out? A lot of things have to happen. But I don't think any team in that division finishes under 500. To say 8.5 wins for the Raiders, that's a little bit too low. Just a quick note, I've taken the over on the Raiders win total the last 2 years, and I've been right.
Yes,
so
sir.
I'm just going to say three's a charm here, and I think I'm going to be right this time again.
Bro, we're gonna have somebody in the chat say the Raiders are gonna be 17-0. So that we're not breaking any new ground on Raider Nation Unlimited.
It's a Raiders show, but what I will say about this though is I see a lot of outlets just kind of put Raiders last in the division. I think that's foolish because a lot of teams are giving it to the Chiefs, giving the Chiefs the benefit of the doubt because obviously they've gone to Super Bowls. They got Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, the Russell Wilson thing going on in Denver, and Chargers made some splashy moves, but to put the Raiders, I have not seen many outlets put the Raiders even third or second. It's just like, yeah, the Raiders are the worst team in the division. I think a lot of that comes from a lot of people still don't believe in Derek Carr. And
yes.
I'm gonna say this again. Derek Carr is about to have the best year of his career.
Yes.
And that's gonna go a long way.
And what they don't understand is, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right?
That's correct.
Right now. This is when all of the preparation, all of the years under John Gruden, all of the hard work, all of the film study, all of the coming in early and leaving last that Derek Carr's done, all the leadership, all the beatings he's taken, the equinox is upon us. And the reason why I call this a Raider equinox, everybody thinks it's just some joke and I'm just on here clowning around, but it's serious. We all know what a real equinox is, when the sun and the moon and everything, it's that moment when they're right in front of each other. Everything aligns. It only happens once a year. Right now, the Raiders have, draft picks. They have a great, young organization who knows what they're doing. They have cap room. They have young players that are homegrown that they've had here that they've taken care of. They've drafted well as far as with some of these guys. Now, John Gruden left a trail of fire with some of these guys. We've brought in another pass rusher to go along with Maxx Crosby. That's something that we never had with Khalil Mack. We can never quite get that other pass rusher next to him. You know what I mean? Right now, we have Derek Carr, where he doesn't have to be the best quarterback in the division. He's got to be the best quarterback on the Raiders. He doesn't have to be the best quarterback in the division. He doesn't have to throw for all these yards. He doesn't have to throw for 1 million touchdowns. He has to be our guy who controls what's going on right now. He has to not turn the ball over. He has to put the ball in the end zone we need him to. He has to control his offense. Now, there's a lot of times where, and getting to the Josh Jacobs point, and we'll transition into that. But we might have a lot of rushing touchdowns this year. We have a nice little backfield, running back by committee. But as long as Derek Carr can move that ball down the field, he doesn't have to be an outduel Patrick Mahomes. We just need to beat Patrick Mahomes. We just need to beat Justin Herbert. We just need to beat Russell Wilson. And that's a team effort, man. And I think the Raiders have a great mixture of talent, young players, free agents. We have everybody on, deals that are advantageous to the team. We have a defense that is missing one top 8 player. And I wanted to ask you a quick question about that. You said the way that you see the Raiders making a Super Bowl next year is that they added another top 8 player at this position or top 8 player in the league.
That's
top
right.
8 player in the league or as position?
In the league.
In the league? Okay. For me, if Trayvon Mullen, you know what I'm saying, can get to a level where he's a starting solid corner, and Trayvon Merring can get to a place where he's one of the 4 or 5 best safeties in football, and Nate Hobbs can continue the trajectory he's on, I think the Raiders are right in line, man. I really do. I think as far as our pass rush goes, I think that we have such a diverse attack. We have so many players that fill so many different roles. I think that we are in line to have a top 15, 16 defense. If and listen, I know if was a fifth, we'll all be drunk. But a lot of these guys that we have, these youngsters here, if they could fulfill their potential early, I think we're right in line to go to a Super Bowl.
When the Raiders acquired Davante Adams and they acquired Chandler Jones, I don't think they did that to win one playoff game or to get to an AFC Championship game. The standard is getting to the Super Bowl. Look who's come over from New England to the Raiders. Now, I'm not going to say the Patriot way, but Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, they're used to winning titles over there in New England. They're not coming over there to win a playoff game, to dip their toe in the water of the playoffs and say, okay, we took another baby step. We got to the playoffs last year. This year we got to the playoffs. We won one. No, it's the idea is we're out here to win a Super Bowl. And if you're not in that discussion, then what are you doing? Getting Davante Adams, getting Chandler Jones. That's why you're bringing those guys in.
Yes, sir.
That's the bottom line.
Yes, sir. So the equinox is upon us, man. Everything is lining up. We're going to be able to keep the band together for 2 to 3 years. And that's a great thing. And we also have room for improvement. We have guys on this roster right now who are make or break deals. And we also have a lot of young players, man, that are going to, in this season, prove their worth, i.e., Foster Moreau. What are your thoughts on Foster Moreau, man? And how he can add to the myriad of talent we have on this team?
I saw your short on him the other day, and I agree with a lot of points that you had. I think he can add something to the offense. It's just that after he tore his ACL, I believe tore his ACL at the end of his rookie year.
Yeah.
After that, he just didn't seem the same player. He struggled certain times in blocking. I know he had some good games receiving when Darren Waller was out. I did. I made note of that. But overall, I think a lot of people expected a little more from him in terms of blocking because that was his thing coming out of LSU. The note on him was, oh, he's a great blocker, but LSU didn't use him a lot in the passing game. Can he contribute that way on the pro level? And now it seems like he can contribute that way, but his blocking has dropped a little bit. So I want to see him put it all together this year under Josh McDaniels, and I think he can because Josh McDaniels in that offense, he's used to using multiple tight ends. The Patriots last year, they paid for Hunter Henry and they paid for Jonnu Smith. So they're used to using 2 tight end sets. And I think that's what you're going to see a lot more with the Raiders in the upcoming season. And with more repetition, sometimes players play better when they're on the field more. Sometimes when you're on the sideline, you're cold on the sideline, you don't have that rhythm. And I think he'll establish that rhythm this year under Josh McDaniels.
I definitely do. The Raiders probably their most successful personnel grouping was 12 personnel. So Josh McDaniels has been a person who's used that. A lot of people like to point to 2011 with the Patriots with Hernandez, rest in piss to him. But, and they try to point to, Rob Gronkowski, but that was Bill O'Brien's offense, right? So, because that was I think Josh McDaniels was in St. Louis that year, right?
Yeah, he spent the year in St. Louis after Denver fired him. So
that 2011 tight end, kind of banner year for that kind of a scheme was a Bill O'Brien production. But Josh McDaniels did definitely adopt some of those concepts, and he's used it a lot. And the Raiders used it under John Gruden. I personally think that for this offense to really break out, there have to be people that contribute that we're not expecting. And I think that the person who has one of the highest talent levels on this team, has one of the highest ceilings on this team, and one of the guys that, based off of the way Josh McDaniel likes to play big boy football from time to time. The tight end is invaluable in situations like that. I think he's a guy that I can see making that step forward and catching 6 or 7 touchdowns this year.
6 or 7 touchdowns may be a little high for me, only because It depends on how many snaps he's going to get, because I think he's going to see a lot of snaps as a six offensive lineman. You know how you use that tight end as a six offensive lineman out there to block. You know, I think his duties are going to be split between pass catching and blocking. So a lot of times you'll see Foster Moreau on the field, but he may not be, you know, a pass catcher. He may be out there to block for the run game if it's a run heavy game plan for that week. But again, it's not unrealistic to say that he can get a handful of touchdowns +1, +2, especially if you're going to move Darren Waller to a wide receiver position with Davante Adams. You know, the Raiders can be very creative with their offense. They can put a number of different guys out there in different personnel settings. So again, nothing would surprise me with this offense. I'm excited to see what Josh McDaniels can do with all of these weapons, though.
I mean, because I can actually see the Raiders lining Waller up at wide receiver, lining him up as a Z, having Renfro in the slot, you know, keeping Adams at the X, and having Foster Moreau as the one tight end on the field. One running back, one tight end, 3 wide receivers set. So I can definitely see that, man. So from what I can see and what I see from the tape and him healing, getting better, I see that the Patriots or Josh McDaniel and them, they're definitely prioritizing the tight end. They've brought in probably like 3 tight ends this offseason?
Something of that nature.
Yeah, they brought in like 3 tight ends. So the cream's gonna rise to the top. They're planning on using this position a lot. You know what I mean? You can see how they're building this roster. They're prioritizing the tight end for a reason. That's why I'm looking at it like there's a lot built into this offense probably for Foster Moreau. Now, it's just speculation. I like to give information and not affirmation. But if you look at some of the guys on this roster, he's one of the guys, man, that, I mean, has one of the highest ceilings out of anybody on this roster that's not already a superstar.
Yeah, I can go with that. And I could see him actually having a decent year and as you mentioned in your short video, going elsewhere in 2023, because another team may want to pay him as a starting tight end if they see what he could do in this Raider offense.
Oh, that's 1,000%. I don't think he's long for the Raiders at this point. You know what I mean? There are a few teams in the National Football League who can actually upgrade by having Foster Moreau as their tight end 1. So, you know, if you look at it, man, I can definitely see that. My brother Graphic is in the place to be, man. He said hit that subscribe button and wipe them feet, y'all. Y'all heard the man, Raider Nation. Y'all already know. My brother Andy's in the place to be. Raider Football Talk, the young savant right here. Greg is up in here. He's in the place. 3 jump balls, pause in the red zone. Salute, Outlaws. Salute. My brother Kenneth is in the place, too. Y'all saw Kenny was up in here, man. But yeah, man. So look, let's get back to the ranch here. I kind of got off of the rails here. Over and under, Josh Jacobs under 900 rushing yards. Mo, I gotta say, man, I agree with you, brother. I don't see any way he gets over that.
And I say that because, number one, if you look at the Patriots, Josh McDaniels under the Patriots, or the Patriots under Josh McDaniels, they haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher since 2016. That was LeGarrette Blount, and he had 299 carries. Jacobs is not sniffing 300 carries. I think he's going to have fewer than 200 carries. I think he's going to have between.
I think at like 160, bro.
I think he's going to have about 175, 180 carries. And if he's under 200 carries, I don't see where he's getting over 900 yards. He drafted Zamir White. Kenyon Drake, if he heals from his ankle injury, he'll be in the mix. Brandon Bolden comes over from New England. So he's not going to see the touches that he's had in recent years. Josh Jacobs has gone over 200 carries in his first few years. That's probably not going to happen in his 4th year.
Yeah.
The writing is on the wall for him. The Raiders are kind of pivoting, and I think you're going to see more of Zamir White in the second half of the season.
Yes, you know, if Josh Jacobs was the kind of running back who had that breakaway kind of home run kind of speed,
exactly,
then that would be a little different. But he's not. He is a pitch count kind of a running back, and I think what's going to wind up happening is they're going to have to make a paradigm shift somewhere in the middle of the season. They have to see how the other running backs respond to getting touches and coming in, and you know what I mean? Because it's going to get to a point where if one of these other guys start getting off, these guys will keep the hot hand. Right. This is how they are. They're not going to keep trying to shoehorn Josh Jacobs into this offense if he's not willing to get going or he can't get started by only having, 8 to 9 carries in the game, 10 to 12 carries. And he has other guys like Brandon Bolden who've kind of grown up in that kind of an offense. Now, for myself, a lot of times, man, we try to make bombastic kind of predictions and stuff, and we try to look for the guy that's not going to make the roster. And I was thinking to myself, well, if Zeus can block, maybe Bolden could be a guy who's not around. But, the more I think about it, man, I should slap myself because Brandon Bolden is going to be a big part of what we have going on this year. So I'm going to say that because I know everybody's going to attack me in the chat because I've been saying it. Brandon Bolden, look, man, he's going to be around. My prediction about him being a possible cut candidate is poppycock. It's hogwash. I should slap myself for that because when I see the way they're kind of setting this up, man, he is their pass catcher. Now, the only reason why I said that is because if Kenyon Drake comes back and he is the player that he has been, then, how does that fit? You know what I mean? How does that fit?
That's why I'm interested to see how they handle the running back room because remember, they reworked Kenyon Drake's contract, so he's on the books no matter what. So it doesn't make any sense to cut him.
Yeah.
He's on his contract's on the books no matter what. They basically guaranteed his contract. It's guaranteed. It's on the books. So you're not gaining anything if you cut him. If you think, oh, they're gonna cut Kenyon Drake, it's like, well, you're not getting any financial backing from that. So I want to see how it's gonna pan out. Now they're probably waiting to see how Zamir White looks at camp to see what his role is gonna be because injuries happen. Guys are gonna be in and out of the lineup certain weeks. So we'll see how that shakes out. But someone asked me if I think Josh Jacobs will be traded, and I don't think he'll be traded on the onset of the season. But let's say in week 6, Josh Jacobs isn't playing well behind that offensive line, and Zamir White looks a lot more explosive than he does.
Hey, man, listen, I can definitely see it happen.
Could a team say, not to cut you off, but could a team say, well, you know what, we want Josh Jacobs now before he hits free agency, and we're gonna trade for him and extend him?
Listen, that would be a veteran move by a team. And I can see a lot of teams. One team that might need a number 2 running back might be the Dallas Cowboys, depending on how Zeke Elliott plays.
Tony Pollard might be that guy.
Yeah. But Tony Pollard might be their guy. It depends on how Zeke is playing, man. If Zeke is playing bad, I can see Dallas parting ways with Zeke, man, to be honest with you, man. I mean, Zeke is owed so much money, and I know, if we want to talk about trades, that's a guy who's also that's on the radar that needs to show and prove very, very early this season because I can't see the Dallas Cowboys for all of that money keeping Zeke Elliott on the roster and having him be the number 1 guy with Tony Pollard balling the way he is, man. Wait a minute. Yo, Kenny, great question. Wasted. What do you think Zeus should do this year? I mean, I think it depends on how good he is in pass protection. I think Zeus is a natural when it comes to running. I think he's more explosive than Josh is. It all depends on how he pass blocks. If he can pass protect, I think Zeus can go out there and give you 580 yards, give you a couple of touchdowns because he's a very explosive young running back. But it all depends on him in the passing game, I think.
See, what a lot of people don't understand, I'm sure you do, is that you're as a running back, you're not going to see a lot of time on the field if you can't pass block, especially on 3rd down.
Yeah,
I think that's what holds a lot of running backs back from seeing a lot of time early in their careers, that they screw up in pass blocking assignments. Because it happened to Ronald Jones in Tampa Bay. I remember when he was coming out, he struggled in pass blocking, and people wonder, why isn't Ronald Jones getting enough carries? He struggles in pass blocking. Now, as you said, if Zeus is decent in that area, he'll be on the field. But if he's not, you'll see Brandon Bolden a lot more.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, but so then that'll be our 3. But you know what I mean? All of us are excited about Zeus. You know what I mean? Let's just be for real. We're all excited about him. We're excited about having a running back on his roster that's a home run threat. It's been a while. You know what I mean? It's been a while. Even Tate Murray was kind of a home run threat at times, but he'd get caught from behind. And Latavius Murray is a lot faster than Josh Jacobs. Let's just be for real here. So, to me, I want to harken back to the days of, Run DMC. You know what I mean? I want to harken back to the days of Bo. I mean, nobody's going to beat Bo, but I mean, just a running back that Napoleon Kaufman, Charlie Gardner, guys that that you can hand that ball off to, and it could be 6 at any given time. It'd be good to have that on our roster. Joe Nation, 94, thank you for the 199 super, my brother. Wasted. Who are you excited to see get reps in the preseason? There are two people that I'm excited to see get reps in the preseason. One, we just talked ad nauseum, is Zeus. I definitely want to see Zeus get some touches. And also, another person I want to see some touches in preseason, because we're always talking about offense. And somebody said that in the chat, man. On defense, I'm excited to see Malcolm Kuntz, man, and Divine Diablo. I am excited to see those guys in the preseason and see how they look, how they fly around the field, how they're grasping our defense. Because, especially Divine Diablo is such an important piece of this defense. I want to see how he, kind of looks out there. What about you, Mo?
Yeah, you just stole my thunder right there. I was gonna say Divine Diablo because he finished the season pretty well next to Denzel Perriman last year, when the Raiders kind of knew they were gonna pivot away from Corey Littleton and Nick Rokowski. He stepped in and played well as a rookie, so I'm excited to see him. I was excited when the Raiders drafted him in the 3rd round, and I felt like he was eventually going to be a starter. I know you got Jayon Brown there, but I think that's going to be a rotation that they'll have with the three of them. Perryman, you're going to have Divine Diablo and Jayon Brown. Darian Butler, I think, is going to be the sneaky undrafted rookie that steals a roster spot from somebody. I think he'll he shed some weight last year and he looked a lot better in pass coverage. And that's the key to being on the field as a 3-down linebacker. So even though he's undersized as a linebacker, that's the knock on him. I get it. But I think having Antonio Pierce there, who's his former defensive coordinator from Arizona State, and shedding the way that he did and just being in the best physical shape of his life, I think he has a chance to make the 50-man roster.
Darian Butler, man.
That's the hot take.
Sam Mills light, baby. I don't know, man. I think he's a little undersized, man.
I think there's a chance. But the other guy, really quick, I want to mention, Matthew Butler. I've been tooting his horn a lot this offseason. I think he's actually going to end up being the guy that's going to get a lot of the reps on that interior of the defensive line next to Jonathan Hankins and Bilal Nichols. I think Matthew Butler, coming from a defense in Tennessee that had the multiple front that Patrick Graham wants to play, I think he's equipped to play in that defense and play right away and have a big role too.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Matthew Butler is a guy that I made a video about. He's a guy I've been tooting his horn before we drafted him. He's also a guy who I have a lot of faith in because, Matthew Butler is a full-grown man. He's a guy who probably should have came out. He cost himself some money by not coming out last year. He took advantage of that COVID year, and he kind of had that 5th year of eligibility. Mm-hmm. So he's coming into the league. He's mature. His body's matured. You know what I mean? I think he's mentally mature. He's a full-grown man. And I think that kid's going to come in here and grasp what's going on. He's going to be an asset to this team big time.
I had to laugh. Someone in the chat threw out the thick frame Nick Ferrell.
Oh yeah. Come on. Listen. You already know. Thick frame nation, baby.
I had to laugh at that one.
Look, you know who made that up. The thick frame nation, baby. Neil Farrell is going to be, listen, I think, to be honest with you, when we talk about surprise cuts, and I wanted to get into that, Big Hank could be a surprise cut if he doesn't get healthy, man. I think Big Hank could definitely be, man.
You know what's funny? I brought up Jonathan Hankins as someone who is on the hot seat as far as their starting job. A lot of people were kind of raising their eyebrows at that. And I said, hey, if Neil Farrell looks a lot better on the interior, I think he could take Hankins' spot because it wasn't like they gave Hankins, $4 or $5 million. It's not like he has this absorbent contract. They didn't give him a huge contract. Now, I know he's familiar with Patrick Graham, but it comes down to what a person does on the field. If one player, let's say you have a rookie and an older veteran on the same level, chances are they're going to go with that young rookie because of the upside.
You go get the young whippersnapper because he's cheaper and he has a higher ceiling.
Exactly. So if they're even, that spot could be up for grabs.
Robert Cisneros, is the Sioux dream dead and pick up a veteran cornerback?
No.
What say you, Mo?
I say no because we haven't even hit training camp yet. And as we know, unfortunately, there will be injuries. So you never know if a player goes down, Sue's phone is going to be ringing.
Yes, sir. I mean, Ndamukong Suh has always used the Raiders as a bargaining chip of sorts. I would like to see it happen, but I'm not playing into it. Every time Ndamukong Suh has a contract negotiation, we start seeing that picture of him with Charles Barkley as a kid with the starter jacket on. Mm-hmm. And it's like, who the hell had that picture? You released that picture. He knows how much Raider Nation wants him here. Because what Ndamukong Suh is he's the last vestige of nasty play in the National Football League. like in real time. There are a lot of guys who play nasty, but Ndamukong Suh kind of personifies that nasty edge that we used to see when we were growing up. There used to be tons of guys in the National Football League who played the way Ndamukong Suh plays, but there are not a lot of guys that are allowed to play that way. And Ndamukong Suh kind of is his own man. He's been free, and now that he's gotten older, a lot of that mean streak isn't there. But just what he signifies, Raider Nation really would love if he was our guy. But let me tell you something, man. I'm not gonna play into I'm not gonna play into the Honey Badger stuff. I'm not gonna play into the Gilmore stuff. It's just like every time there's a free agent out there in Raider Nation, we get it in our head that we want him, and it makes too much sense for it to happen. It never happens, and I'm just not gonna do it, bro. The only person in the last couple of years that we were pounding the table for and it actually happened was Davante Adams, and that's because we went and traded for him. So I'm not even gonna I'm on this channel. The Ndamukong Suh talk is dead until he comes into this building.
I'll say this: Ndamukong Suh is at the end of his career. We all know that, and I think, as always, anytime he's hit free agency, he's been looking for the best offer. And I think a lot of people made a big deal of with his comments about the Raiders, about him talking on the phone with, I believe, Maxx Crosby or Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones had a tweet toward Suh, and Suh said, he tweeted, "Oh, it would be fun playing for the Raiders," or something of that sort. I think he's just looking for the best offer. Now, if it is the Raiders, he'll play there. But if it's another team, he'll play for that other team. I don't think he's specifically eyeing the Raiders as a landing spot. It's just who's going to come with the best offer.
I think he's looking at a bunch of buckets, and whichever bucket has the most money in it is the bucket that he's going to pick up and run with. And that's pretty much what Ndamukong Suh has done everything you can do in the National Football League besides go to be in the Hall of Fame and be Defensive Player of the Year. That's not going to happen at this late stage in his career. He's a perennial Pro Bowler. He has a Hall of Fame resume. He's a Super Bowl champion. I mean, at this point, it's about the bag. You know, it has to be. You know, I don't know the man personally, but that's just what I can surmise from seeing the way he moves. I got to give a shout out to one of the fifth member of Mount Shieldmore, Halo Raider. Shout out to you, my brother. But look, I'm in a wait and see kind of mode with all of these free agents. Now, let me ask you a question, Mo. You know, shifting onto that, who are some of the people who are potential trade targets from other teams that you could see the Raiders making a move on if somebody in our secondary doesn't play up to snuff, if our offensive line needs somebody? Is there anybody that you could see out there that could be a possible? And I know it's very hard to kind of speculate on something like that because you have to see the smoke before you see the fire. I mean, not. Well, there's smoke, there's fire. In this context, we got to see the smoke before we can see that burning fire. When we talk about in this context, is there anybody that you can see us kind of taking one of our headaches and swapping out and bringing another guy that's gonna help us, kind of a mutually beneficial trade out there?
I don't see it. You hardly ever see a player for player trade in the NFL. Usually you see
draft picks.
It's usually normally draft picks, but if the Raiders are going to kick the tires, I would say this guy is going to necessarily help the Raiders. But if you want to see what he's got because of potential, I could see the Raiders maybe kicking the tires on a CJ Henderson because he's not going to start in Carolina. J.C. Horn's going to start in one end. Dante Jackson, they resigned. He's an outside corner. And they have a nickel guy. So I don't see where CJ Henderson fits in that secondary. But if the Raiders say, hey, he's a former first-round pick, I believe a top 10 pick. If we have a hole in the secondary, bring him in and see what he does. Now, I know he hasn't played well with Jacksonville and with Carolina in a short stint, but you know how it goes with these former first-round picks. You bring him in and see what he's got.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I got to read this chat. Wasted. What about sending a flyer on Quan Alexander? Dude is a beast. Dude was a beast. I don't know what Quan Alexander actually has left physically at this point in his career. It's the reason why he's still out there.
Injuries, man.
Yeah.
just
yeah, man. His injuries, dude. The guy's been out here, man. Everybody probably has his medicals. The level of talent that man had. If he didn't have an injury problem, he'd be on a roster right now. Linebackers like that aren't just growing on trees, man. So he must be really, really hurt, man.
I'm gonna bring up a name really quick, and maybe because he's in my backyard or our backyard, because we're both in the New York City, New Jersey area. Bryce Hall from the Jets. The Jets revamped their cornerback room. They added Reed drafted Sauce Gardner. Bryce Hall started last year on the outside. Probably not going to start this year because of the additions they have back there. Now he's young. He got hurt before he came in the NFL, so he had a slow start, fell to the 5th round, I believe. But he was pretty good on the collegiate level. And while healthy, I think he could be a serviceable starting quarterback. If the Jets are willing to part ways with him, big guy, big frame, I would take a flyer on him.
Yeah, no, I definitely would, man. So, wait, Rated Digest. Mo, any surprise cuts from other squads that you could see coming in that might be a fit and help our roster? Anybody have too many cornerbacks or DTs? I would say that would line up to our last question, brother. Bryce Hall might not be Bryce Hall. I think that lines up. I had to put that up there to let them know we kind of proactively answer this question.
CJ Henderson, Bryce Hall would be my 2 guys to look out for.
Yeah, not a trade. How do you fellows feel about Anthony Barr? I mean, Anthony Barr missed most of 2020. Last year he didn't play a lot last year, and Anthony Barr is getting a little long in the tooth. I don't know what Anthony Barr has left. I know what he was. If we're talking 2017 Anthony Barr, yeah, hell yeah, I would love to have him. But it's 2022 at this point, so we got to see what he has left. Now, if you can bring Anthony Barr on the cheap, it can't hurt to have a linebacker like that on your roster. Hey, Mo, wait, are you breaking up, bro? I think.
Nah, I'm good.
No, I'm saying, so let me ask you a question, man. What do you think about Anthony Barr, brother?
As you said, just he's at the tail end of his career. If he's coming in on the cheap, fine. Only because if you remember, there was one year where Anthony Barr was a free agent. He was actually going to go to the Jets, and people were like, why is he signing with the Jets? Because the Jets play a different type of defense than the Vikings. I believe the Jets were an odd man front, so he's going to line up on the edge. And he could play on the edge. I believe he did it on the collegiate level. Now, I don't know how effective he would be now at this stage of his career, but if you want a guy that could play on the outside and inside, kind of like a Kyle Van Noy type of player, Anthony Barr could fit on the cheap, but only on the cheap. Nothing over, sizable on a sizable deal.
So quick question, man. There are a lot of people that are throwing the name Dante Hightower out there. And we really haven't seen any movement on that front. People kind of try to connect the dots based off of his Patriot connection. What do you think about that, man?
I think he only comes in with an injury. If Denzel, unfortunately, if Denzel Perriman goes down, then you bring him in. I mean, at this stage in his career, he's probably a 2-down linebacker. I mean, there's a reason the Patriots didn't resign him, right? Patriots don't just let guys go. So a lot of the guys that people are asking us about right now, you're not going to hear from until there are injuries at this point. If a guy's on the free agent market now, chances are you're not going to hear until there's an injury. Raider Jai just brought up a good name, and I've been saying from the beginning of free agency the Raiders should sign Eddie Goldman. And I'm still on that train that they should sign him because you always have a rotation defensive line. I would still pick him up.
The thing is, what is going on with Eddie Goldman? He went from being one of the budding young stars in football to now. So is there something mental going on with Eddie Goldman? I've heard some rumors that there's something going on with him, like his desire to even play the game. What's going on from what you've heard?
I haven't heard anything, so I don't want to put anything out there in the ether and say, oh, Mo said this, but it's kind of odd that he's still a young defensive lineman who, as you said, showed some promise early in his career, not on a roster. Now, he has the Chip Kelly connection with the Raiders. So I'm wondering, okay, will the Raiders take a look at him? Is he, what is he up to? Has he had any visits? I just haven't heard much about him.
I don't understand why, with the Champ Kelly connection, we haven't kicked the tires on him. So if we haven't kicked the tires on him and we went out there and we made a move for Bilal Nichols, that goes to show me everything I need to know. I'm just using deductive reasoning at this point. That's all I can do. You know what I mean? That to me shows me everything I need to know.
Just the fact that I haven't even heard him going, too many visits.
I haven't heard anyone. I haven't heard his name attached to anyone. I've heard a guy like Ndamukong Suh attached to like 4 or 5 teams, and this is a guy that's on his last leg. And a guy like Eddie Goldman, who's in his 20s, something's up there. I don't necessarily know what it is, but I know whatever's up, it can't be great, right? So, somebody just said Goldman doesn't love football, F him back. See, Raider 805, we don't know that for sure, bro. And I don't want to put that on Eddie Goldman. I'm not going to put that comment up. We don't know. Eddie Goldman could have an injury. Eddie Goldman could have something personal going on in his life. Let's not say that he doesn't love football. We don't want to be reckless with these players. These players are men. They are people. A lot of times you don't know what these guys got going on. Some of these guys could have had deaths in their family, all kinds of stuff. And then us as fans, we just want to see them perform like they're show ponies. The man could be going through something. So I don't want to say that. But whatever he's going through, I hope that brother is all right. He might not be going through anything at all. Right? I hope he's healthy. I hope he's happy. And I hope he's ready to play the game. That's what I hope, whether it's for us or anyone else. Quentin, what about Jamie Collins or Brandon Copeland or Parnell McPhee for outside linebacker in this scheme?
Jamie Collins is intriguing. The only thing you hear a lot about Jamie Collins is he freelances a lot. I don't know if Patrick Graham would want a linebacker like that. But he's been productive in different stops. In New England, in Detroit, he's been productive. The problem is, can you corral him so that he doesn't make mistakes and leave a gaping hole in the middle of your defense? Because that's been the problem with him at previous stops.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going to work with us. We're not, see, the thing about a guy like Collins, if we had a more talented defense, like kind of a who's who kind of a defense, like the Ravens. The Ravens have talent from top to bottom on that defense. That just is what it is, right? So at that point, you can add a Jamie Collins in there because you have so many players around him to make up for his deficiencies with him, freelancing. But if you have a defense, when it looks like to us, I think we're going to be more of a bend, don't break kind of a defense. We're not a bad defense. We have some very good players. We don't have, we have 2 stars, but we got Chandler Jones as a guy, he has definitely been a star in his career. Chandler Jones is getting a little older, and Chandler Jones, when you look at his numbers from last year, a lot of it is fool's gold. And I don't mean to rain on anybody's parade, but a lot of the sacks he got last year, he got 2 games. Mm-hmm. And then he wasn't as productive as he possibly has been in his career throughout the rest of the season. So we got to kind of pump the brakes on that, right? Hopefully, the 2 games he goes nuts is on rollback, Russell Wilson. He get him some Walmart discounts, some great value water, and he can go in there and go do his thing, right? But I hope that Chandler Jones, and Doc's brought this up on the show. Shout out to Doc's, man. I hope that Chandler Jones is more consistent this year. Sack here, sack there, 2 here, 2 there, as opposed to him getting 4 or 5 sacks in one game. And yes, everybody, if you didn't know, this is Yannick's twin brother. They've been switched at birth. Yannick was on the steroid plan. Mo went to college.
Yep.
And was, just the genius part of the whole twin thing. And that's what we have going on right now. So, yes, this is definitely Yannick Ngakwe's brother.
He plays football. I write about it. That's
right. Each other. It's a perfect match, ladies and gentlemen, right? But, yo, man, wait, somebody just brought up a name that I would love to see happen, which I don't think will happen. Would love to trade for Deron Payne. I would too, but I don't think we got enough bullets in the chamber to get that done, brother.
I don't even think the Commanders are entertaining. I read that Commanders aren't even entertaining trade ideas, thoughts on him. I don't know why they would either, because that defensive front is the strength of their defense and their football team has been in recent years. So I don't see why you would trade one of your key pieces.
What they have is they have the other side of what the Hogs were. They have the left hand of what the Hogs were. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They have the Hogs on the defensive line. Mm-hmm. They got to keep that together, man. None of those guys are going. That's the heart of their football team at this point, man. Daniel, Bruno, what's going on? Mo, is the O-line as bad as some keep saying? I'm keeping the faith. We have 3 to 4 starters returning. And that was the last thing I was going to get into, man. I know we're getting a little longer, too. I can't keep you for so long, bro. I love you. Come on, bro. I could talk for 2 hours with you, brother.
Of course.
But, brother, what do you think about this line? Because for me, that is the biggest part of this team, man, that I get a little worried about. I'm a little worried. I have faith. But I'm a little worried. What do you see for this offensive line going forward?
It's going to boil down to camp, because we don't know where Alex Leatherwood's going to play. Now, I know he took most of his snaps at right tackle during the spring, but that doesn't mean that's where he's going to play, because as we all know, offensive linemen will be cross-trained during training camp. I think the offensive line could be better. The question is, how much better can it be? I still don't like what they did at the right tackle spot. Even if Alex Leatherwood starts, what if he goes down? You gonna try out Brandon Parker? Because I still think fans are gonna hate me for saying this, but I still think Denzel Good is a potential surprise cut after camp.
No, but listen, man, that's an over 300-pounder with a lower extremity injury.
At
That's
31 years old.
Yeah, and he's he's on the wrong side of 30. That's never a surprise, bro. That's never a surprise.
A lot of people come at my neck for that, but I'm sticking by it.
Yo, bro, and the thing is, it all lines up: his age, the injury, and the fact that you get a cap savings of $2.5 million if you get rid of him.
And Parham shows out, he can easily slip into that right guard spot. Or if you want to play him at left guard and move Simpson over to right, wherever the case may be, they have younger guys who play both guard positions. So I don't think he's a shoo-in to start, as many people think he is.
And that's right. And we see, and the crazy thing is Dylan Parham is a guy that I had as a late first rounder, early second rounder. And being that we had a draft where we had extra players in this draft because of the extra COVID year of eligibility, he fell to us and we got lucky. But any other year, Dylan Parham is a lock second round pick and a fringe first round pick, I think.
But to answer Daniel Wendell's question, I think that's a to be seen, because I want to see how that offensive line performs under Josh McDaniels and Carmen Brasillo, because sometimes when you get a group that doesn't play well under one coach's staff, they get better under another coach's staff because the other coach's staff is able to tap into players' potential. So we'll see. I'll have a stronger opinion about do training camp. First, give me 2 weeks of training camp and maybe a preseason game to see what it looks like. Yeah. Once we get to that point, then I'll have a stronger opinion. But right now, we don't know, because we don't know what that coach staff is in store for those offensive linemen.
See, the thing is, and to piggyback on what you're saying, we do have to see what it looks like. Everything is just merely speculation, these rumors. No one can see what the hell is going on in Raider practice. There's the media is so far away from that practice, bro. They might as well be in Area 51. No one can see what's going on. There's no rumors. There are no leaks. And that is one thing that makes me really, really happy, and that makes me feel like the Raiders are going to go a lot further than we have in a long time, because when the Gruden years were going on, there was always somebody behind the scenes leaking stuff, man. There was always somebody trying to protect and blame somebody and have someone fall on the sword for a bad decision that they've made. You know, brother, let me tell you something, man. You know what I used to do all the time, man? Hey, man, Mo, I love you, brother. Good seeing you, man. Let me tell you something, brother. Hey, old Coach Gruden, a lot of times I would just walk the building and just go in there and just blame people for stuff that I knew I did, man. You know, like, hey, drafting Alex Leatherwood, overdrafting him, man, that was all Mayock. Maxx Crosby, that was me. Renfro, that was definitely me. I mean, hey, man, everybody else, man, that's a bad draft pick. It was fucking Mayock, man.
How's the case going, Gruden?
Oh, man, the case is going excellent, man. The NFL's on the ropes, man. You know, I don't think that case is even going to see the light of day, man. I think they're going to settle out of court like their life depended on it, man, because it's going to open up a can of worms, the likes which the National Football League has never seen, man. I'm going to tell you something. This Gruden thing right here, man, I never thought I would go. This thing is going to be bigger than the Mitchell Report, baby. Nah, man, but in all seriousness, I think the best case scenario for the National Football League is just to settle this, man, because if they start digging into things, I don't think that people really want to see how the sausage is actually made.
Oh, no.
For real, because if Gruden was saying all of these offensive things, he's not saying that shit into an empty void. He's communicating back and forth with someone else who's probably and was a part of an organization. At this time, he was working for ESPN. He wasn't working for the National. I mean, if you're working for one of the partners of the National Football League, you'll always represent the National Football League. But he was not a coach or an employee of the National Football League per se. So what does that say about the executives he was talking to, or the coach he was talking to, or the owner he was talking to? They don't want that, because what you don't want is things and nuance get lost in text. Like, we can have a conversation now when Mo, you know, you're a writer by trade. when you put things in black and white and say bam and put it up on the screen, it doesn't look so great. And the National Football League has an optics problem right now. There are a lot of things that are happening around the National Football League, and people are getting tired of the National Football League's act as it pertains to the holier than thou with some and the sweep it under the rug with others.
The others. Mm-hmm.
So, and I know you can't really speak on that too much, but I will. You know what I mean? I think if the National Football League knows what's good at them, they'll go send somebody to go talk to Coach Gruden when he's out shopping, buying his Coronas with his flip-flops on down there in Florida, and have some anonymous guy walk up to him and say, "Hey, Gruden, man, how much would it take, man? 100 million, 200, 3? What do you want, buddy? Let's let this thing go." Because the National Football League can't afford to have a fiasco like this, because all of the stuff that's happening with Daniel Snyder, all things that are happening all around the league, the Deshaun Watson situation, all of this stuff, bro. If this is starting to look like, and you got the federal government itching to get involved in this. They're itching to have something to deflect what's going on in the world. They're itching. Trust me, you do not want them to make the dog and pony show that the Mitchell Report was. You don't need that, because nothing's going to come of it for real. And all it's going to do is just air all of the National Football League's dirty laundry.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's just my take on it. Wait a minute. Raider Rick. Hey, Wasted, I love to hear Charles Barkley evaluate our offseason moves. Well, he's going to say terrible. You already know, man. Yo, salute to the chat, like my brother Raiders Allegiance said. Thank you for pulling up, man. Thank you for pulling up. Daniel Kim, just able to jump on. Salute to you, Wasted and Maurice. Time to get football smarter. May this equinox guide us to a Super Bowl victory. From your lips to God's ears, my brother. Talk that talk, or talk that shit, like Docs would say, man. I got to have my own thing. That's a Stone Cold lead pipe fact. Wait a minute. Van City. There it is. Attaboy. My Devante jersey is still hanging with the tags in my bedroom on my Raiders flag. I know it's coming to Vegas with me, baby. That's right, man. Wait a minute. Okay. When I met Gruden this past winter after his resigning/firing, he said, "Go Raiders," and we are on the right path. What else could he say? You know what I'm saying? Like, to be honest with you, this last go-around with the Raiders, I think Josh McDaniels can right all of the wrongs for John Gruden. His tenure looks wholly better if the Raiders pull it together and somehow win a Super Bowl, because there are a lot of players on his roster that he can take claim over, because he was the de facto GM. So if Maxx Crosby continues his ascent into all-pro heaven and perennial Pro Bowl heaven, he could take credit for that. He could take credit for Hunter Renfrow. He could take credit for, salvaging Derek Carr. You know what I'm saying? He could take credit for that, bro. So, I think John Gruden selfishly, and I think he loves the Raiders too. He loves his organization. But I think selfishly, John Gruden is rooting for them to go to the Super Bowl in more ways than one, because it kind of legitimizes him in certain ways, not as a coach, but as Italian evaluator.
Yeah, and you also got to look at the Raiders. Even though they didn't do it in a quick way, they continually improve record-wise under Gruden. And as you said, a lot of players on this roster that he could say, "Oh, I brought this guy in." Or Darren Waller is another guy. I brought this guy in, and he's now part of a Super Bowl winning football team. So I had a hand in that. So of course he's going to be rooting for Raiders. He has the roots, and he was the previous head coach who put a lot of these pieces in place. I criticize Gruden a lot, and a lot of people know this. But I also give him credit for putting certain foundational pieces in place for his team to compete this year.
Facts. And you got to give him his credit. I can't take it away from him. Salute to you and Mo. This was a really dope show.
John.
I would definitely like to see y'all chop it up again. Yo, man, you already know. Mo.
My guy, John.
See here. That's my guy, man. John Davis, brother. Wait, hold up. Gruden got in Gruden's way. But at the end of the day, he had to show, he had us going in the right direction.
That's facts.
Van City Raider, happy belated 4th to my Raider brothers and sisters. Glad to see the usual suspects are here. One piece. So I had to get to some of these chats, Mo. Night Owl, you're definitely not blocked. And no, I am not a 5%er. But you know what I'm saying? I grew up around a lot of people in the 5% nation, but no, bro. I'm not one of the gods. Wait, we have to be happy that we're in this position with all the bad picks in the last 10 years. This includes Connolly, Ferrell. See, look, I'm not gonna Riggs. I think they autocorrected. He means Ruggs. Cleveland Ferrell is not. I think the jury's out on Clee. The jury is out on Clee. I don't think Clee is a bad pick just yet. Let's see what we can do with him with Patrick Graham, a.k.a. the Black Picasso. Who is a guy on this roster on the defensive side of the football that you see flashing under this new regime?
As far as something that we haven't mentioned, I don't have a name that no one hasn't mentioned, but I have a hot take that I've put out there before. And I think you will push back on it. But I actually think Amik Robertson might have a chance.
Bro, a lot of people, I'm not going to push back. I agree with you.
A lot of people are going to say, oh, he's too small. He's too small. And I will say a lot of the slot cornerbacks in this league are about 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah.
I think Amik is about 5'8". Now, he could be the backup slot to Nate Hobbs. Or if you want to move, or if there are times where Nate Hobbs is on the outside, I think Amik can play slot. It's just a matter of technique. I don't think you don't need to be, 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot tall to play slot cornerback. You need the technique. Don't fall for the eye candy. Fit the run. Cover the defender downfield. Make sure you don't give up the big play. Because a lot of these slot wide receivers are smaller guys too. So it's not like he's going to be super overmatched by the 6'4" slot receiver. I mean, I believe Juju Smith-Schuster is the most known slot receiver, a big guy that I know off the top of my head. Most of these guys are small, quick guys. So I think Amik, if he could be like the backup slot, because they've already been talking about his versatility. There was a tweet I think Vic David put out that said the coach staff likes his versatility. If he could play slot, boundary / safety, just kind of be that versatile weapon, kind of like if you remember Marcus Gilchrist, his year,
yes,
he kind of moved all around the secondary. If he could play that role, I think he can make a roster and make a difference.
I mean, listen, there have been, and I know this is in the past, but guys like Antoine Winfield were smaller cornerbacks who ate and played very well. I think with Amik Robertson and with our defense, I think the matchup will dictate where he plays. Because you have some wide receivers that are outside guys like Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Judy's not the biggest guy in the world. You could put Amik Robertson out there and Jerry Jeudy. That's not a complete and total mismatch. It's not like putting him out there with Brandon Marshall. You know what I'm saying? There's some receivers in this league that I think Amik Robertson could do pretty well playing against. It depends on the week. It depends on the week. It depends on the matchup. It depends on the situation and the scenario. But I think that we got a coaching staff that aren't so rigid. I think the problem with the last regime was that you had a lot of guys who coached in a different era. And their viewpoint on their roster and the decisions they made weren't as fluid as newer coaches. Newer coaches are a lot more open to fluidity and information. They're willing to try more things. And I think that Amik Roberts will definitely make this roster. Now, previously, when we talked last, I was like, they're going to cut Amik. He's too little, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. But Amik Robertson, bro, like, man, he's a dog. And if you go back to some of that tape at Louisiana Tech, man, he has some superior tape in college, man. And I know that doesn't always translate to the National Football League, but he's definitely a defensive back by trade. He's not a guy that you have to do a whole lot of work to get him to do the right thing technique-wise.
Right. And I just, as you mentioned, if you put on the tape, his cleated tape, he was pretty much a ball hawk. He was all over the field. I think with the coach staff last year was you had an issue where coach staff had a set plan, right? And as we know, Gus Bradley, his cover 3, they had a set mold what they wanted their defense to look like. Not a lot of room for creativity, as you just mentioned. When you get a coach staff in there that's willing to move some pieces around, blitz a little bit. Can you guys hear me? One in the chat if you can hear me.
Mo, you looking like Max Headroom right now, bro. You remember Max Headroom?
Am I disintegrating in the chat?
Yes, it looks like Infinity Wars right now, bro. The Black Panther has just disintegrated right now.
Damn.
Wait, you coming back now? Hold on.
Am I back?
Yeah, you back now, brother.
All right. I don't know what's going on. Am I back in the chat?
You back, man. I don't know, man. You in the
They
Mecca, bro.
They tried to zap me. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's the
redacted.
The redacted they're trying to shadow ban this, man. They don't want all this truth being told right now.
Redacted tried to snatch me off the air. But yeah, I mean, I just think Amik Robertson deserves one final chance before people say just cut him, he's done. I think he gets one more shot, one more bite at the apple before the Raiders depart ways with me. Completely flush the toilet on the 2020 draft class.
Yeah, my man Kenny, this is an OG in Raider Nation, man. Shout out to Kenny, man. The Chocolate City Outlaw. He said, I don't have Amik making the final cut. Sorry, fellas. You know what? Listen, you watched a lot more football than both of us, brother. Mm-hmm. I respect your opinion, but I'm going to have to respectfully disagree, big bro. Oh, my God, the thought bots are in here. What the heck is going on?
First they try to zap me, then the bots come in.
Yeah, I know. What's going on? They said Mo looked like he's fusing with the Raider. Oh my God, man. Yo, they said Amik must work on his tackling skills. I mean, Amik, look, if he can work on that, I mean, then he'd be shit.
I mean, that's basic football 101. I mean, that's something that I feel is correctable. If a player is willing to tackle, there's one thing a player is not willing to get in the frame tackle. That's something I think that's hard to fix because it's just not in it. But as you said, Amik has that dog and he's willing to tackle, and I think that's correctable in his case.
I just thought you said Memphis Bleak. I was like, you just dated yourself right now, bro.
Yeah, Memphis Bleak, bro, my brother, man.
Yeah. I thought you said Bleak. I was about to be like, whoa, we got Bleak on the team. Nah, man. But yo, Raider 805, I'm the true OG of Raider Nation over 50 years. Wow.
Salute to that, man.
Salute to that, man. Salute to all of the older Raider fans in the chat, the guys that pull up on us, man. I met a guy in the mall the other day. I was with my family and stuff, and I had my Raider hat on and stuff. And he said, hey, Wasted, man. And I was like wow, this guy knows, I'm in Jersey. I'm surprised. Like, you know what I mean? He was like, I forgot what his name was, man. But yo, shout out to you, bro. Like, I appreciate that. He said he been a Raider fan since 1960, bro. 1960, the inaugural year of the Raiders, man. He's from the Bay originally. He moved out here. So shout out to that, man. I forgot your name, bro, but inbox me and I'm going to shout you out the next show, man. Shad Owens, Amik and Clee are underrated in my opinion.
See, I didn't get to the Clee thing, and I'm sorry because you had an opinion on Clee, and I just want to take off of that. Clee is, I think at this point we could say he's been overdrafted. I wouldn't call him a bust yet, but I think he could be functional in a certain type of defense. Now we'll see what he does with Patrick Graham. He's probably going to move around from the interior to the outside. He's probably going to play multiple positions because he's not going to be a starter. But I will say he could be a functional defender. I think it's clear he was overdrafted, number 4 overall, too high for him. But he could be functional. It may not be with the Raiders, but I think if he goes somewhere else, he could be a decent defensive lineman.
I think Cleveland Farrell's a guy's going to make himself some money this year. I think as a 3rd or 4th rusher, because the one thing that I see from Cleveland Farrell, you can see that from his game against the New York Jets, right, during the COVID year. He kind of got off in that game. And Cleveland Farrell does have that flexibility in his hips. He has that bend. He just needed more opportunity. And I think, with Yannick Ngakoue coming in last year and them kind of breaking up Salt and Pepper, they kind of derailed him. But I think having him as a rush outside linebacker is going to give him more chances. He's gonna have more chances at kind of, showing some of his other skills. He doesn't have that whole lose weight, gain weight kind of nonsense. He knows what his role is going to be, and he's going to get a chance to execute. I think Cleveland Farrell is going to be a big, big surprise this season. I think Farrell, Amik Robertson, and also there's another guy that I think is going to be a huge surprise, and that man's name is Alex Leatherwood. I think Alex Leatherwood is going to be great this year. And, and the reason why is because of what I'm seeing from him in the offseason as far as his work ethic. That work ethic doesn't just go into a vacuum. And we haven't seen him on the field yet, but just the fact of, if you see how lean he is and how much muscle he's put on, how hard that man is working, I'm sure he's putting it in the film work. He's putting it in the gym. And I think he's going to get some positive gains because Alex Leatherwood he's not a guy that ever looked overmatched. He was a guy who one, not for nothing, being a Raider gets a lot of bullshit calls. You know what I mean? Let's just be for real here. And two, he's a guy who was a rookie who got thrown into the deep water his first 4 games, and the team had to shift him because of the Denzel Good injury. He lost his vet next to him. Think this year is going to be a big difference for Alex Leatherwood, man.
I think people underestimate how hard it is to come in as a rookie and then have to play a different position after the first month of the season. You know, I think that a lot of the struggles is he didn't have the stability his first year. Now he, you know, hopefully he goes into the set role. They say, look, this is the position you're going to play. Of course, he's going to cross train, but this position we have you at, this is where we're going to line you up. This is what to expect. You know, you get switched around as a rookie. It's tough.
Yeah, it definitely is. I had something up. I gotta take this down, man. There was another comment I missed, man, and I wanted to bring it up, man. I'm very, very sorry trying to find it, Mo. I don't like having dead air. No dead air, no dead air, no dead air. But what the hell? I'm sorry, I lost it.
Was it about Leatherwood?
No.
Oh,
I think with Nassib gone, Clee is gonna get more playing time this year. And that's a fact, yo. Guys, listen, what I want you guys to stop doing, please stop doing the how long I've been a Raider fan thing. We're all Raider fans. It doesn't matter. Intel. Oh, my God.
Wish we had
$100 super, bro. Intel, thank you, bro. Yo, that's amazing, bro. I appreciate you. You always come through and show love, man. I really, really appreciate that, dog. Thank you so much, man. For real. I don't know what else I could put up on the screen. I got to leave that up there, bro. Appreciate you, dog.
Just gotta let that marinate right there.
Yeah, you gotta let that marinate, bro. Yo, Quentin, it was your question, bro. Quentin, do me a favor, please put that back up there, bro. Yeah, man. Wait, you know the one thing, the dreaded one has a great question. He goes, I've always wondered why Clee never went to Von Miller's passing clinic. Maybe he wasn't invited. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want him to show up, be like, yo, man, who invited this motherfucker? You know what I'm saying? Because to me, when you look at that pass, it's a who's who of pass rushers in the National Football League.
Oh, man.
Maybe he wasn't invited, bro. I mean, look, I no disrespect to Clee. I'm just saying, like, when you look at that pass rushing clinic, it's guys like all pros there, bro. Maybe they didn't invite him. Hey, Mo, what what happened, bro?
Hey, if any Cleveland fan members out there in the chat, I had nothing to do with that.
No. And, yo, no disrespect. Listen, I'm a fan of Cleveland Ferrell, bro. That's no disrespect to him, but it's just, I'm just saying, like, when you look at the guys that are going to this pass, Maxx, Crosby, Chandler Jones, you know, Justin Houston and all of these kind of guys, it's kind of a who's who. I know you got some young and up-and-coming guys, but maybe he wasn't invited. Who knows? Because 2 of his teammates were there and he wasn't. Maybe he had other shit to do. Who knows, man? Oh, my brother. Intel, man, you showing so much love, bro. This brother just became a member to the channel. Yo, that's the best way to support the channel, y'all. Please, if you're out there and you haven't become a member, please become a member of the channel. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of things that are happening, a lot of big things that are happening at Raider Nation Unlimited, and we want you to be a part of it to bring this thing forward. Greg is tweaking. He said the Knicks 2023 champions. I'm a long-suffering Knicks fan. It's never going to happen.
Shout out to Greg.
Shout out to Greg. I love the Knicks, but it ain't going to happen, bro. Come on, man.
Being realistic.
Well, hold on. Oh, come on, bro. I'm real. I'm true to this, bro. Like, listen, Worldwide West in them is making a worldwide mess like Ho said. He's making a worldwide mess right now.
I want to see what happens with Julius Randle before I have a complete opinion on
Julius Randle, like, why would you pay him that much money, man? Like, he got to go, bro. It's terrible, bro. Leatherwood looks like he's following in Colton Miller's path. I love the fact he wasn't happy with his own performance and he's working his ass off. And that was pretty much my point, Raider Rick. Thank you, bro. Intel, he just went up another. Intel, man, thank you, brother. Appreciate you, my dog.
Quentin has had a question about which undrafted free agent that I think was which rookie, I guess, rookie undrafted free agent crosser. And I went over Darian Butler. I think he's going to be the guy. Simply because I've had turnover at the linebacker position, so it's wide open for him to sneak on the roster. I know they added Kenny Young and Micah Kaiser, but those guys haven't been able to hold on to starting spots. But they've been. So Darian Butler, I think, has a chance, even though he's undersized. I still look at his last year at Arizona State, and I think after seeing that, the best is yet to come from him. I think he has a legit shot to make the 50-man roster.
Wow. I mean, listen, man, Butler's a little dude, man. I don't know, brother.
Look, in today's NFL, you need a hybrid guy who's going to be your linebacker / safety. He could be that.
You think he has the talent to be a safety dude?
A hybrid, not a pure safety, but a hybrid.
One of those guys that could chase around Travis Kelce.
If you remember Deion Buchanan, he's probably a little bit bigger or close to the size of Deion Buchanan. I think he could be that type of player when Deion Buchanan played for the Cardinals. Now, I'm not saying he'll start, but I'm saying as a role player, he can be that. If it's right, go back to this podcast show on Pod Wasted, July 5th, 2022. I was the guy who was behind Derek Butler.
Listen, you definitely landed on Plymouth Rock first with this. You said that a long time ago, brother. I got to give you your credit on that. And I'm going to take some of the credit, too, because it happened on my show. So, Marcus Howard, $1.99 donation, man. Thank you. Mo, if Carr wins us a Super Bowl, is he a Hall of Famer? Hell no. I'm going to answer for Mo. No. It's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Very Good. No.
No. You got to do more than win a Super Bowl to be in the Hall of Fame, especially if the years that statistically is just no.
Bro, listen, we got a guy that was a Raider who won us 2 Super Bowls. Guess what? He ain't in the Hall of Fame either. So let's just be for real here, man. Phil Simms, not a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Anderson, and people would kill me like, oh, no, Carr's numbers are similar. I'm like, dude, you got to take what Ken Anderson did in a dead ball era, run first era of football. The numbers that Ken Anderson put up when he retired, he was in the top 5 in every major statistical category when he retired. Like, Ken Anderson's numbers don't look the same now. It's the same way with Dan Marino's numbers. Dan Marino, one of the best pure passers in the history of football, right? His numbers, he was number 1 in everything, and now he's kind of taking a step down. Favre and, the Bradys of the world and the Breezes and a lot of his. So now Dan Marino's numbers don't look as formidable. But if you were alive in the 80s and in the 70s and you saw the numbers that Ken Anderson put up, Ken Anderson was a league MVP. He was an offensive player of the year. We've never had that kind of play out of DC. So, no, I don't see it. Wait a minute. Raiders, fan 97. Carr's on pace to be Hall of Famer already, but some people ain't ready for that debate. Just my take. How is he, bro? And I don't like to get on the Carr train. I know Mo don't got all night to be here, but I'm gonna end this in 5 minutes. You don't get into the Hall of Fame for just being a good quarterback. You don't get in the Hall of Fame because Raider fans love Derek Carr. That's some shit you gotta earn, man. You gotta earn being in the Hall of Fame, bro. If everybody gets in the Hall of Fame, then it's not special anymore. And Deion Sanders kind of harkened to this. Deion Sanders is like, yo, if Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer, I don't feel so great about being a Hall of Famer anymore. This is a man who won 2 Super Bowls. Eli Manning's probably going to get in because of his name and some of the numbers and stuff like that. But Derek Carr, at this point, Derek Carr has to have 5 or 6 years of incredible football and win a Super Bowl, make the playoffs all those years to kind of balance out the losing in the beginning of his year. Because the losing, you can't give Derek all give him an out every time he lose. It was the defense, it was the special teams, it was this person, it was that person. The wind was blowing too hard. You know what I mean? He didn't eat that much. Whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then when we win, Derek won us all these games. You can't do that.
Yeah.
The losing is on his resume too. It is. I love Derek. He's the best quarterback we've had probably in my lifetime. You know what I'm saying? Even better than Plunkett played great. But Derek Carr as a pure passer and leader, I love Derek Carr. And I wish him the best. And I hope he does win a Super Bowl. And I hope he has all the success in the world. But what we got to do is we have to stop putting people into places that they haven't earned yet. Let's let this man play his whole career out and see how it fucking turns out. With all of this trying to project people into the Hall of Fame shit, that shit is stupid to me. Because I remember years when people projected Michael Vick into the Hall of Fame his first 2 years. And then let's see how that, and then at the end of his career, he was a perennial backup. And I loved Michael Vick. But we got to let these guys play their careers out before we try to anoint people. There's a chosen few who get anointed into the Hall of Fame already, like Patrick Mahomes and, Aaron and guys like that, you know. But go ahead, Mo. I'm sorry, brother.
No, I was just gonna say he's gonna need about, as you said, about 4 or 5 top-notch seasons before he can get there. Yeah, his numbers just aren't there yet, and the team hasn't won nearly enough for him to be even considered. Even if they do break out this year and win the Super Bowl, he's got to be consistent with it.
Carr don't need Phillip Rivers handouts, no rings, and fools talk Hall of Fame. And listen, Phillip Rivers Phillip, that's a hard sell for me for Phillip Rivers. All of the numbers and all of that shit, that means nothing, bro. There's a lot of mediocrity, and Phillip Rivers doesn't have any excuse to not made it further than he did. He had the best of everything for a long time, bro. I don't want to hear it. He got 2 guys in this draft class that's sporting a whole lot of jewelry, bro. A whole lot of jewelry. Phillip Rivers has no excuse, bro. To me, he don't make the Hall of Fame either.
Shout out to Quinn what Booker said. Like, people are making a big deal about Carr's passing yards. Passing yards ain't gonna get you to the Hall of Fame.
Sure the hell not, bro.
You gotta win and you gotta get some rings. Bottom line.
Yeah, man, you gotta win, bro. You
And
gotta win, man.
I'm considered a Carr guy, but let's be real here.
Yeah, and that's the thing that pisses me off, bro. And see, Raider fan 97. Eli's getting in because of his postseason runs and not his name, and that's great. That's great. He's a 2-time Super Bowl MVP and all of that. Great. What did he win it both times?
He won twice. He beat the Patriots twice.
Yeah, he beat them, but I'm talking about Super Bowl MVP. Did he win the MVP both times?
Did he win the MVP twice?
I know the second time he was definitely MVP. He carved the Patriots up, and he threw that pass on the sideline to Mara Manningham. I remember that.
Was it somebody on the defense that won it the first time? I could be wrong.
No, I don't think so. He did win it both times. Making that pass. Yeah, he was. I think he's 2-time Super Bowl MVP. Could be wrong. If I'm wrong, don't shoot me. But but listen, you don't make the Hall of Fame, bro. Like, being a Hall of Famer, bro, is not like making a Pro Bowl. It's not about being remembered and being a champion. Being a Hall of Famer is you being in a little room of guys, thousands of people who have played this game. And you're at the top of the top of the top of the less than 1%. Being a Hall of Famer is not something to be taken lightly, bro. And I think that now that some of us are getting older and we've seen people's careers start and finish, we've lost our way a little bit with what Hall of Fame players actually mean. Like, even when you talk about Charles Woodson is one of the 5 or 6 best defensive backs to ever play this game, bro. That's what it means to be in the Hall of Fame. If you look at Charles Woodson's numbers, even with us, with Green Bay, and when he came back, Charles Woodson is one of the best defensive backs all around to ever play this game. There's not too many people who have made the switch to safety and played at the level. And 2 of the guys I can think of, both named Woodson, Rod and Charles. A lot of people, Ronnie Lott, Charles Woodson, Rod Woodson. There's not a whole lot of guys who have done that at the level that Charles Woodson did. So when you think of a Hall of Famer, think of Charles Woodson. When you think of a Hall of Famer, think of Warren Sapp. These are Hall of Famers, bro. Like, you know what I mean? There's not too many names you can name at defensive tackle before you get to Warren Sapp. Love him or hate him. Love him or hate him. Lawrence Taylor. These are people. This is Lawrence freaking Taylor we talking about. I remember people talking about trying to put Khalil Mack in the Hall of Fame. You got to let these guys play their career out, man. So how's that argument, is Khalil Mack as good as Lawrence Taylor looking to you now? That's a looking now. It looks real fucking stupid now, don't it? You know what I mean? Derek Thomas was a Hall of Famer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's just be for real here. Art Shell's a Hall of Famer. Gene Upshaw's a Hall of Famer. Freddie B, Tim Brown, Mr. Raider. Consistency. Every year, excellence. No matter who's flotsam and jetsam throwing Tim Brown the ball. Every year. Every fucking year. Excuse my language. I try not to curse too much, right? But every year, Tim Brown's you can pencil Tim Brown in for over 1,000 yards receiving every year. Over 8 to 10 touchdowns every year. Just pencil him in. No matter who's throwing him a ball. And you know what, man? He never had the people throwing him the ball that Rice and them guys did. That is a Hall of Famer. He's a guy that every game, they got a game plan for him. Even on his way out, they did it. So, like, Derek is a great player for us. And I think we have Raider dysmorphia because there have been a lot of players that have been here that have been so goddamn bad at quarterback. Now that we have a guy that is a real quarterback, we kind of take him and canonize him and put him somewhere where he doesn't really belong yet. Do I think he has the ability to be a Hall of Famer? You're damn right. Do I think he has the moxie and the talent and the drive and everything, and now he has the players? You damn right. But is Derek Carr a Hall of Famer right now? Just winning one Super Bowl? Hell no. No. Sorry.
I got a fan pod wasted off of that one. he blew a sprocket on that one.
But I'm sorry, bro.
I'm with you. I agree.
I'm sorry, bro. Like, and you know, people like Intel is a brother. He know hell to the no. But like, listen, Raider Rick, I thought Kurt Warner and Terrell Davis getting the Hall of Fame was a little free. But see, Kurt Warner, that's different. Kurt Warner, from the word go, was excellence for about 4 or 5 years. Got his bell rung, went to the Giants. They had to give way to Eli. Goes to Arizona, makes it to another Super Bowl and played excellently. There's a lot of excellence. There are a lot of fucking 48 touchdown years and stuff like that with Kurt Warner. A lot of 4 or 5 when it wasn't, passe to have those years. Kurt Warner, it was, if you extrapolate the years that Kurt Warner had, there's a lot of winning in there and there's a lot of excellence in Kurt Warner's tenure. It might not have been 15, 16 years, but the time that he played when he got his start is just excellence. So you can take that and you can say, hey man, this is a guy who played at an immortal level. We can put him in. Terrell Davis is a guy that I kind of was like, but this is another guy that done a lot of spectacular things. Couple 2,000-yard seasons, Super Bowl MVP, that kind of stuff. Did he win Super Bowl MVP that one time?
Davis?
I think so. One of the so listen, they're an easier sell right now than Derek just winning one Super Bowl. You know, Kurt Warner been in Super Bowl 3 times.
You'll be right. Once this is over, you'll be labeled the Carr hater. You wait for it.
No, bro, they already labeled me. I'm not a Carr hater, bro. I love Derek.
I know that. But you know how sensitive the fan base is about Derek Carr.
Yeah, I know. And a part of the, our thing with Derek is the fact that, the man. That's why I always say I love Derek. Because as a man, Derek Carr is a guy that you can't hate the guy. As a man, I don't know him personally, but the persona that he puts on in the public is bulletproof, man. Great guy, hardworking guy. Just all of the shit that he's played through. Only missing a handful of games with 5 broken ribs and all. Like, I salute that for him, bro. I love that about him. Him coming in early, leaving late. Him being a professional. You know what I mean? Like, that means something to me. And I want to see him have the best season. I want the best for Derek Carr. But what I'm not going to do is, because I don't even do this with my own children, I am not going to give him accolades that he hasn't earned yet. He hasn't earned that yet. Does he have the ability to, and the potential to? Yeah, but let's let him do it first.
You know what's coming, though? I think, not to say it came from this person in the chat, but Colin Cowherd has been on the Derek Carr as a Hall of Famer bandwagon lately. He's been really hard, not hard, but he's been driving Derek Carr as a Hall of Fame bandwagon. I think a lot of it, not in the chat per se, but a lot of that talk has come from him saying Derek Carr is a Hall of Fame quarterback. When he's done playing, he's a Hall of Famer. Even his producers kind of looked at him like, nah, he's not. And you get what happens with these media heads. Good, positive or negative, they put a point out there. They'll throw something against the wall, and then ride that point to the very end until the wheels fall off. Whether they think it's ridiculous or not, it's going to get them hit. And everyone knows that Raider Nation is going to reply to a lot of these takes, bad or good. But yeah. I think Colin in the comment is just, I don't think it's anything to really discuss or get worked up about. Not that you shouldn't, but I think it's pretty obvious Derek Carr is not a Hall of Famer even in the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
And what way is he? I mean, what can you say that he's spectacular that puts him in with a special group of guys? Winning a Super Bowl isn't, it's great for the franchise, but it isn't spectacular, especially if you played at a high level enough.
Yeah, because Trent Dilfer has won a Super Bowl. Brad Johnson has won a Super Bowl. Jeff
Now-
Hostetler's won a Super Bowl. You know, and shout out to Haas. Haas was my guy. I fuck with Haas like that. But Haas won a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Let's just put this into to context right here, you know? So, you know, that's to put a neat little bow. There's always got to be some Carr dysmorphia, right? But what we got to do is we got to sit back. Derek has what he needs right now. I just don't want to hear this season because, listen, I'm getting older, bro. I'm getting older. It's been a long time since I was a little kid seeing the Raiders win that Super Bowl. It is a long time since me going out there after the Raiders win the Super Bowl when they came out with starting lineups and wanting to starting lineup of Marcus Allen and Howie Long. You remember the starting lineup figures? It's a long time, brother. A long time. The time is now. We got to win, man. You know, this right here makes the National Football League better. I'm tired of us being this organization who keeps clinging on to the past. It's good to remember the past. It's good to elevate our legends, right? But you know what I want for Derek? I want for Derek to come back when his days playing are over, and I want him to be bulletproof with the Raider Nation. I don't want it to be, but. It makes me sick that Charles Woodson wasn't able to win his ring with us. That pisses me off when I hear people on social media be like, oh, Charles Woodson is a Packer. Like, nah, man, C. Wood, that's our guy, bro. We drafted him. But you know what? He got his jewelry over there, and that makes me mad, bro. And I don't want that for Derek. I don't want to see Derek go somewhere else and win a Super Bowl somewhere else. I want him to win it right here with us. And I want a lot of these guys like the Hunter Renfrows and the Darren Wilds. I want them to replace some of these guys that are, you know, the Fred Biletnikoffs. These guys are getting older. They're not going to be here forever, man. The Art Shells of the world. Gene Upshaw's gone. A lot of these guys are gone, man. You know, Lester Hayes is still here. But, you know, a lot of these guys, Cliff Branch is gone.
Cliff Branch.
Cliff Branch is gone, bro. All them years they waited and they ain't put him in the Hall of Fame. Kenny Stabler had to go into the Hall of Fame posthumously. All of them old Raiders, man, are not going to always be around, and we need new Raider legends. We need new guys that are bulletproof, and the way you become bulletproof in this nation's always been about winning. It's time to win some championships. It's time to go to the playoff and win some playoff games. It's time to make some new memories. We can't keep living off the sea of hands, the holy roller. We can't live off that. Shit, Mo, you and I, we grown-ass gorillas, bro. We weren't alive for that. I know Kenny and all of them guys were alive for that. We weren't alive for the holy roller and all that. That shit was in the early 70s, bro. We need, as a nation, bro, we need to focus on what Al Davis built. It's a commitment to excellence, not a commitment to mediocrity. And that's what we need to demand, bro. I'm tired of the whole, you know, grading on a curve with players in Raider Nation, bro. Let's not grade on a curve anymore, man. And I'm sorry to go on this tangent, but it's been something that's really been bothering me because I saw the blowback I got from saying that Derek Carr's brothers are delusional by saying, oh, he wins a whole, and I know it's his brothers and everything, but the thing is that I think that's dangerous, man. That's a dangerous thing to say because what happens is it causes undue trepidation in the Raider Nation. It causes people who don't like Derek Carr to attack him. Just let it be what it is. He got the number one guy. We always said Derek hasn't had a number one, even though he had Amari Cooper, and Amari Cooper, some people look at as a number one. He might not be a high-end number one, but he's a number one, right? He had one, right? But now he's got that number one. It don't get more number one than Davante Adams unless you want to resurrect Jerry Rice's career. You know what I mean? So, listen, he's got what he needs. He's got a top 3 guy at tight end. He's got a top 3 slot guy. You know what I mean? He's got guys on the bench who have a lot of talent. Let's see what Derek can do. I have full faith in him, but we got to let him do it first.
So basically you're saying let's walk before we run.
Yes.
Walk before we run. Let's get the season. Let's see Derek Carr throw for 30 more touchdowns. Let's see Derek Carr help lead the team to the playoffs and get a playoff win. Derek Carr's a playoff win with the Hall of Fame.
I mean, my God, you know, they put this guy in the Hall of Fame and won a playoff game. Like, come on, bro. You got guys that won playoff games, you know, all of this shit. Nobody's even thinking about putting him in the Hall of Fame. For Jim Kelly to get into the Hall of Fame, he had to go to the Super Bowl 4 times in a row. Like, you know how much winning Jim Kelly did in Buffalo, bro? That's what it takes for you to get into the Hall of Fame without winning. How many records Fran Tarkenton? And then you can't look at guys like Fran Tarkenton when the National Football League was in its its ascension to being America's pastime. When, after the merger and, you know what I'm saying, post 1960, we can't. And Fran Tarkenton played for the Giants before the Vikings. You know what I mean? Fran Tarkenton owned every passing record there was. That's excellence on a different level for him not to have one. And he went to a couple of Super Bowls. So, like, come on, man. It's time, man. It's time, bro. You know what I mean? It's time to win. It's time for people to stop talking about shit that doesn't matter. The Hall of Fame doesn't matter. I don't care about somebody making the Hall of Fame when they're playing right now. We need him to play in 2022 right now well. And we can have this conversation in 2030 when he's done playing. Sorry, Mo. I went off on a tangent, brother. And Mo, listen, I know we almost on 2 hours now, man. I done missed the Super. I'm gonna read it, and then I'm probably gonna get out of here, bro. He did say how he did Hall of Fame shit last year. Watch the next 5 seasons. We'll see. Marcus Howard, I hope you're correct. I believe he can go on a Hall of Fame trajectory. I believe he's turned the corner. I believe him coming in and playing under John Gruden was a necessary thing for Derek's ascension into being the kind of quarterback that he is now. I believe Gruden made him a bit of a jerk. You kind of need to be a bit of a jerk to be a great quarterback. All of them are. All of the great ones are. Listen, I haven't seen a Hall of Fame quarterback say fiddlesticks for somebody for running a wrong route and dropping the ball. You know what I'm saying? Let's just be for real here. I've seen some epic meltdowns by Tom Brady, from Dan Marino, from John Elway. I mean, the only guy I've never seen really yell at anybody is Joe Montana because he never had to. I ain't never seen Joe have to yell at nobody. Joe just ding, dunk, ding. Here you go, Rice. Here you go, Taylor. Wait a minute, Roger Craig. There you go. Little Tom Rathman. What do we need there, Rathman? You know what I mean? Like he kind of had to, not initially, but Joe had a great team for a long time, But listen, Mo, man, I think we've thoroughly covered your article, bro. I think that you are a gentleman and a scholar. I appreciate you coming on my show. I am sorry for you watching me rant for the last 10 minutes, maybe 20. Mm-hmm. But, man, you are always welcome here, man. I appreciate you, bro. Mo, thank you, brother. Thank you.
As always, thanks for having me. We gotta put that tangent rant up there with the Hall of Fame YouTube rants of all time. We gotta send that to the NFL and have them play that back so that people like, oh, if you think you're in the Hall of Fame, listen to this. Does he match up to what this guy's saying?
Mo, do you think I'm wrong?
No, I was not in my head. I was about to just pass around the collect play, put my money in because everything said was on point.
Crawford versus Spence still happening. Yes, in October, it's still happening. I got Terrence Crawford in that. Hey, but they said great show. Mo, thank you, my brother. We're going to get out of here. This has been another episode of Raider Nation Unlimited with the great Mo Moton, man. Peace Appreciate to all of y'all, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We'll be back at it. Same bad time, same bad channel, y'all. Peace.
Peace.